Hey, welcome to Genre Exposure, a film podcast. Join us as we explore the wide world of cinema, broaden our horizons one movie at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Dustin, and as usual, I am here with Jason.
Hey, everyone.
How you doing, my dude?
Doing all right. About yourself, man?
I'm here. I'm present. I'm in the moment, existing.
We have your full divided attention.
Yeah, my full attention.
Undivided attention, rather.
As we become crushed under the weight of tariffs.
But, this podcast continues to cost you nothing.
It does. It's totally free.
No tariffs are going to affect us, motherfuckers.
No. Well, that's actually a lie because they have already affected me.
Well, I mean, they're not going to affect us getting our material out to people.
In relation to this podcast.
Sure, if you're talking about, the materials to supply the product for this podcast.
Yeah, listen, I'll just tell the story on here, because old Dustin had a sad day when he went to go buy some Blu-rays, and, every now and again he likes to throw in a random one that he's never known anything about just to blind watch it. And, all the retailers are now kind of affected by this whole tariff stuff. So,
Yep.
One of my favorites, Grindhouse Video, which is sadly, I think they're shutting down, at the end of this year, I think I saw. But
that's sad.
They've always been one of my favorites to buy from. They're kind of just putting a pause on any kind of pre-order that's import, because obviously...
Who knows what the fuck's going to happen.
If you pay them now, and then, the month it comes out, it suddenly is, a ton more. They can't afford to offset that cost.
Right.
And then Diabolic DVD, another big favorite of mine. I think they're a bit more popular, but I noticed they have a thing on their page now where every movie that you look at, it has a little spot that shows you what the tariff is, and then how much more that's raised the price of what you're buying, just so you know.
It's fucking nuts. At least they inform you. At least they let you know,
And I was like...
Oh, that's fucking bullshit.
Oh, no. It affects me now.
I'm sure it affects you in more ways than just Blu-rays, but yeah, it affects you too.
No, I'm just joking about that, condition we all have. That
no one gives a shit until it affects them.
Yeah, until it's personal.
Right, yeah.
Speaking of personal, today we are going to be talking about The Three Musketeers, Part 2, Milady.
Why is that personal?
She's got to get her revenge on the Musketeers.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Oh, the tagline should have been, "This time it's personal."
Still 2023, same year the other one came out. If you tuned in last time, they shot them back to back, so here we are.
A lot of the information we shared then still pertains to this one.
This episode may be shorter because literally all the background and fun behind the scenes stuff also apply to this one. So if for some reason you're tuning in on this specific episode, but didn't listen to the prior one, definitely go back, get your Musketeer history and the groundwork of this film. I think we're just all plot and analysis this time.
Right.
But before all that, we're going to talk about what we've been watching. I've been watching a lot of TV stuff lately.
Me too. I have to admit, I have watched 0 fucking movies in the past couple of weeks, which is sad.
We're also part of the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, and we love it, and there's all kinds of other cool shows. And if we have failed you this week in our movie watching, you can definitely find some other shows that will have you covered.
Yeah, they won't let you down.
They won't let you down.
They're way more professional than we are.
But hey, it's always a work in progress, episode by episode. So what I want to know is, what have you been watching?
Okay. Just watched a newer show that's streaming on Apple called Paradise.
Fucking Apple TV. God damn it.
Hey, man. I can't help it.
I hang out with you and Michael, and you're like, guys, you need to watch Severance. I'm like, okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm at work, and a coworker's like, hey, you need to watch Severance.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm getting my hair cut, and the lady that cuts my hair, that's Tiffany's hairdresser, is like, oh my God, I know you love crazy out there stuff. Tell me you've seen Severance.
That's the world we live in. You got to pay for 100 different fucking subscriptions to watch all the good stuff. I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody likes it. That's capitalism for you, baby. Okay. Anyway.
What's it about?
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up a little bit, because it's not Apple. It's Hulu.
Oh.
Which I think you already have, because I think you have the Disney Hulu bundle.
I do. Okay.
I don't know why I was thinking it was Apple.
I'm back in, baby. Let's
all right, he's back in. There was something else on Apple. Anyway. I can't even keep him fucking straight anymore. But yeah, this, I don't want to say a whole lot about this one, because I think the less you know going into this one, the better off you'll be. But here is the blurb regarding it. It says a Secret Service agent played by Sterling K. Brown, who I really like a lot. He's very good in this.
Okay.
He investigates the murder of a former president in a seemingly peaceful community.
Okay.
And the former president is played by James Marsden.
Oh.
Who I've always really, really liked.
Donut Lord.
Yeah. I didn't get that reference when you and Michael made it, because I have not seen the Sonic films.
Oh, your sad existence. You need to watch
I mean, I get, you could say Cyclops. I'm like, okay, I get that. That was 20 fucking years ago.
Hey, I think he's coming back in one of those
really
final Avenger movies they're doing.
Well, so I think he's a really underrated actor. I don't think he's utilized enough.
He was a good Cyclops.
Yeah, I think he was a very good Cyclops. And he's really good in this.
I like him.
He actually plays a politician from Kentucky. So, yeah. So yeah, without saying too much about it,
hopefully one of the good ones.
Yeah, yeah, one of the good ones.
I mean, did they put like old person makeup on him and have him be what's his name that like never fucking dies? And
Mitch McConnell?
Yeah.
No, they don't.
He's out there looking like Emperor Palpatine.
But no, the genre for this, according to IMDb, is conspiracy thriller.
I'm in.
Cyber thriller, political thriller, action, drama, regular old thriller. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I recommend it. It suffers from a lot of the problems with a lot of TV shows, and that like some character arcs sort of get lost, and it's only 8 episodes though, so it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Is it like a one and done, or is there going to be like another season?
There's going to be another season, yes. But yeah, I like it. It's pretty well done. There's a couple of episodes that are genuinely tense.
Okay, I'll have to put it on my watch list.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing, just wrapped up the 3rd season of Yellowjackets. Now, this one's on Showtime. So I don't know how you feel about Showtime.
What's Showtime? I thought that was when the movie starts.
But you can also watch that with Paramount, because there's a Paramount Showtime bundle.
God damn it.
But Yellowjackets is...
Let's start a Kickstarter that's just money to buy me a ticket to go to Hollywood to wring the life out of certain people.
Right. Oh, hang on a second. Before we go any further, I need to stop real quick and turn off the heater over here.
You don't think that our audience loves the warm undertones of the, like, of the heater going?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm going to guess not.
Well,
It interferes with our dulcet tones.
maybe.
Anyway, so Yellowjackets, I think most of you know what this is about. It's about this soccer team of girls that gets lost out in the wilderness, and they resort to cannibalism.
Whoa,
so there's
shit.
more. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not like a big. That's like you get that in the beginning. So this is much more horror oriented. There's some pretty decent gore, some pretty decent kills here and there. Yeah, again, another TV show that has some frustrating character actions and lack of development, and
Almost like there's a trend of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
But Christina Ricci's in it. She's always really great. She's one of the MVPs of the show.
I'm back in.
Now, there you go. I hope it's just one more season, though. They need to start wrapping it up. But if you like, also has Sophie Thatcher in it, who I really like. She's in Heretic and some other horror flicks.
Isn't she also an X-Man?
I think she is an X-Man. I think so.
Or was, or could be.
She was in that Boogeyman adaptation. That was pretty god-awful.
Yeah.
So you don't even remember that, do you? No one remembers this. Came out like last year, and no one remembers.
Oh, based on a Stephen King story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's coming back to me.
Right.
Had the trailer where they have the little like nightlight thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very forgettable. Very
Yeah.
boring. Very middle of the road. Yeah.
She's better than that.
She is. She's much better than that. She was great in Heretic.
She was.
So yeah, those are my recommendations. This is what I've been watching.
Okay.
How about yourself? What TV have you been watching?
A new season of anime is upon us.
Uh-oh.
Lots of stuff coming out. So you know me being the Gundam guy, I had to check out. There's a new Gundam series starting. Mm-hmm. This is Mobile Suit Gundam GquuuuuX, which is a weird name.
Very weird.
If you see the title, it's even spelled pretty funny because it's like a G-Q, several U's, and then an X on the end.
Fucking anime, man.
Which
and I say that with love.
A long time
fucking
it was like,
anime.
how do you even fucking pronounce this? I kind of thought they were maybe going to call it GX because the pun of that title is that when you look at it spelled out, it kind of looks like an axe. Like all the U's make the handle, and then the GQ makes like the axe blade. And it's supposed to be a pun because in the show, the main weapon that gets used a lot is the the Zaku like Heat Hawk, which is an axe.
Okay.
So I thought that was going to be the title, but no. In the first episode, they just straight up call it GquuuuuX, which is a weird title and kind of makes you get like a duck vibe, but that's nothing to do with anything. But the thing about this show is it's being made as a co-production between Sunrise, who's like the home of Gundam, and Studio Kara. And Studio Kara is the company that Hideki Anno started after Gainax ended, when he wanted to like redo all the Eva stuff and make those new movies, and that's all done and settled now. So it's kind of like, what were they even going to do? Because they were kind of just devoted to like redoing his own stuff, and they're gonna make their own version of a Gundam series as a co-production. Really cool, really fluid, bright animation. A lot of the people working on it were like former Gainax staff that worked on Gurren Lagann and some of their other shows like Fooly Cooly and Die Buster.
Fooly Cooly's insane.
So it has that very like over the top, like frenetic energy. Almost feels like a Trigger show, which is funny because again we've talked about Trigger a lot on here, incidentally. But Trigger got started when Gainax shut down, and a lot of the remnants there formed their own thing.
That makes sense.
So it's not Trigger, but it kind of like vaguely connected and kind of has that same like punky energy to it. But the premise is an alternate universe take on the original Gundam Universal Century. And it kind of casts this question of, the whole start of Gundam is they're kind of Zeon, the people that run the space colonies, are attacking this one colony because the Earth has been secretly developing a new mobile suit called the Gundam that's super advanced, and they want to steal it so that they don't get a leg up in the war. And in the original show, then young teenager Amuro Ray accidentally ends up in the cockpit and pilots it. And he is the main character that we follow throughout the war, as him and the Gundam make this shifting difference going forward. So GquuuuuX says, what if he never got in the Gundam? And so instead, Zeon actually abduct the Gundam, and then using that and repurposing it, end up winning the war very, very early on. And so you don't get this like drawn out 1 year war thing, and the escalation as they build more and more mobile suits and ramp up. And so it like time skips from that to then have this new status quo where like Zeon controls the space colonies. But the whole thing about like in the original Gundam, the problem with Zeon is like there was this one little family that ran it, the Zabi family, that are kind of just very, very thinly veiled Nazi XVs. So, there's one layer of like, oh, the colony should be independent from the Earth, but then like the people running it are like fascists. So turns out, everything's not peachy and happy and going on good. And some of the colonies are falling into disrepair, and there's rumors of like the Earth trying to mount like a new attack and things like that. And so the story focuses on this teenage girl named Machu, who's kind of just living an idle life in one of the space colonies. She's very bored with it. She would love to go out into space. She would love to see the Earth, but she's never been there before. And at this space colony, they have these things called clan battles. They're these illegal underground, like for prize money fights, where civilians have purchased decommissioned mobile suits and refit them and have like arena fights.
That's fun.
And so she accidentally gets swept up into this world of clan battle, and in the process also gets mixed up with the different forces at work. Some weird things have happened since Zeon acquired the Gundam, and they're trying to investigate that. And it kind of gets all mixed up into a bunch of insanity and over-the-top stuff.
Okay. All right.
The only one episode is out now. It is streaming on Amazon Prime. You really need no context to come at it. I mean, it does reference the original Gundam in that it's like a, butterfly effect, one twist, different universe. But the second episode, which is going to air next week, is kind of this flashback portion that gives you all of the 1 year war history. So you really don't need any other context at all. You can just come at this fresh. Cool. And I super loved it. I thought it had great animation, great vibe, great energy. Unlike the prior series, which from Mercury, this one actually feels like a Gundam show where there's like interesting politics and world stuff going on.
Okay, cool. So it's good for a newbie.
Good for a newbie. Show it some love. Check it out. If you've never seen any Gundams, give it a look. The only thing I will say, I guess, if you're like maybe an old-time fan or a lapsed fan or something, the actual Gundams look pretty weird. They have much more of like this kind of industrial tech design to them. Which, if you're familiar with Evangelion, which was what Gainax and Studio Khara were known for, they kind of look more in the vein of those sorts of giant robots.
Okay, this always struck me as looking like more organic type, like with strange shapes and curves and stuff, almost insectile.
Yeah, they've got that. They've got that energy to them. So
okay,
that might be a little off-putting.
I do prefer my big mecha, bulky, and
I love it also. I was just like, whatever, this is cool.
Yeah.
So that's that. I also want to talk about. I've got a movie. I'll save the movie for the end. On a whim, Tiffany and I have started watching The Vampire Diaries, which feels very much like a thing I would enjoy because it's about a bunch of different supernatural creatures and a bunch of BS drama.
Yeah.
And it's basically like a Vampire the Masquerade campaign, but as a TV show.
Right.
Pretty fun. Notable for us is that it was kind of the show, at least, was one of the main showrunners is Kevin Williamson, who wrote heavily for the Scream films. I think he's directing the new one, maybe. Is that what was going on? I think
possibly.
Yeah. And so it's funny because like they throw in little things that are obviously teasers to like other horror films. Sometimes it's in the title. Like obviously one episode was titled "Let the Right One In." You got to name check that. But some of my favorite ones have been super subtle and they don't even draw attention to them. Like one of the characters is like a witch and she's sort of coming into like the control of her power. Very Buffy-esque with like Willow, that kind of plot arc. But there's this great scene where like she falls asleep in class and they totally do the Nightmare on Elm Street dream sequence where she like wanders out into the hallway and it's abandoned and dark and like creepy and stuff. And this is all still just in the first season. I think there's like a bajillion seasons.
Yeah.
So we'll see where this goes. But there was another little arc that went on for a while where there was an unknown vampire stalking the main chick named Elena, who's played by Nina Dobrev, which I know we've talked about before because she was in some movie that we did. But he keeps like calling her cell phone and being like creepy and mystical, and it felt very like Scream, the way that Ghostface calls his victims.
Right.
So I appreciate it for that. It is very TV. It is very like teen oriented. So there's lots of like over the top like soap opera level drama.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see the little like nuggets of horror that like clearly everyone working on it loves horror, and they kind of like get in their licks when they can.
That helps. I can't do the whole teen thing that much. Like Buffy gets a pass because it's
it was of the time,
and too. It was and it was so smartly written and everything. But most teen stuff, I can't fucking do it.
But it's cool. We've got vampires in it. We've got witches. I think they're teasing werewolves. So I'll see where it goes.
All right.
And then last but not least, I did have a movie to talk about. I thought it would be relevant of me to go ahead and watch The Count of Monte Cristo.
Oh, yeah, the new one.
The new one from last year, which was made by the same production company that did The Three Musketeers. And this may be a teaser for today's episode, but it kind of disappointed me.
Oh.
Yeah. I think that visually it's stellar. And I think that what we've learned from these Three Musketeer films is like their cinematography people are fucking on point.
Yeah.
They know how to make a good shot. They know how to compose it all with like the score, everything else, the angle, the view, to make some really cool visuals. And it's cast well and it's acted well. But where it falls apart for me is in the plot.
Yeah.
Which is a thing we'll maybe talk about today.
I think we might.
And, The Count of Monte Cristo, it is a big story. It's hard to do just in one film. This one was like 3 hours long. And the way they made it fit, and I'm okay with this, is they kind of changed the story a little. A big part of the story, if you know Count of Monte Cristo, is there's this group of friends that the main character had that all collectively conspire to set him up, get him imprisoned, and as a result, each one of them benefits in some way. And so what they've done is they took two of the conspirators and kind of condensed them together. So it's one person that did all the things that both of them did in the plot.
Right.
And I think that's actually fine because
it streamlines things.
It just streamlines things, and it doesn't really you don't lose any of like the main story beats. But where this one goes wrong, as many Count of Monte Cristo adaptations go wrong, is when you get to the ending. Which I don't know how familiar you are with the story either, Jason.
Not overly. I mean, I saw the what was it, the Guy Pearce movie?
Yeah.
Which I rather liked that one.
Also botched the ending.
Yeah.
So when it gets to the back half of the story, and he is the Count of Monte Cristo, and he's enacting his revenge.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of collaborators that he sort of has acquired in his journey, different assistants that help him out. Like there's Luigi Vampa, the bandit, and one of those is this character called Haiti, and she is this young woman that's from a foreign land, and she's sort of the linchpin in his plan against Mondego, who is, of course, was his best friend, stole his love of his life after he was imprisoned,
Mm-hmm.
and he's now like this great general that's very well respected. And when they had like traveled to the land that Haiti was from, he had made all these deals and promises to her father, who was like the ruler there. And then he invariably had betrayed them and like slaughtered a lot of them and done all this terrible stuff. So she's sort of like his back pocket trump card to eventually expose all this corruption that went on. And in the normal story, she's kind of just like one of his supporters that's always by him. And there's this big deal at the end where it's like, is he going to go like 100% with the revenge and like probably like ruin himself, or does he like stop at a point and say like I'm done? And sort of the big climactic thing at the end is like she confesses her love for him, and it kind of like mellows him, and the ending is them like going off together to see like whatever that is between the two of them.
Okay.
And then he wishes farewell to, was it Maximilian and is it Valentine, I think's her name, which are the two lovers that have like from different families, and they didn't want them to be together, and the Count kind of helps them by doing this whole like fake poison plot to fake the death of the one so they can then reunite and be together.
Okay.
And so all that builds up into this thing where it's like he wishes them farewell and like a good life, goes off with Haiti, and he gives them these like final message, which is the very end of the book and the final line. It's a big deal where he says, all human wisdom is contained in these two words, wait and hope. Which kind of shows you the full circle of like his journey from being like revenge obsessed and everything else. So what this film does, and this is like out of left field, they decide that he uses Haiti as like this pawn to get close to Albert, who is the son of Mondego and Mercedes, and some versions make it actually be his son, which is a weird thing, but like they hooked up before he got in prison. I don't know. But anyways, he's also one of the linchpins of like his revenge, because he wants to like turn him against his father, further corrupt all of that. And so in this movie, they have it like she gets close to Albert to like influence him, and there's this whole thing about them like falling in love, and then the Count's like, oh, you guys, like, I'm gonna spare you my revenge, like run away together and be happy. Which then like pulls Haiti out of the plot completely. And so then the ending is this weird thing where like Mercedes is like alone at the end, and she gets a letter from the Count writing to her to tell her wait and hope. And it kind of gives it this weird vibe like maybe he'll come for her and they'll get back together. And that's my problem, because I hate any version of this story where they make the two of them get back together again, because I feel like that misunderstands the point of the story. Like, I think if you're a Hollywood executive, you're like, oh yes, this is great. These two characters are in love and they're torn apart, and then we bring them back together at the end, and then that's a great film. But then that misses like everything about like the rest of the book, talking about the nature of revenge and like the way people move forward from things and change and become different, and the fact that like at the end he isn't that same person that was like the youthful, hopeful sailor, and even if he is still like well-meaning at times, like he can't be that person anymore. And so it's always disappointing that, I don't know, it's like they don't get it.
I get it, yeah.
and that plus a lot of the back half was like really sloppy with them trying to like finish it up in time. I think you would need to do it as like a 4-hour film to really, which at that point then you're,
or split it up like they did with Three Musketeers.
2 parts. And, the best adaptations I've seen, and I'll just throw this out there, there is a French TV miniseries. Oh, I'm getting the year for you. It was in 1998, and it starred Gerard Depardieu as Edmond Dantes. That one's very, very good and very faithful, and it's cool to hear it in French, like it was cool to hear this one in French. Its problem was it gets to the end, and it has this triumphant, he's on the beach, Mercedes is on the beach, they run to each other and embrace and kiss, and they're going to get back together. The whole hog of that plot again. So it's like great until the very end, and then it totally botches the ending. Surprisingly, and I'm not saying that I've seen like every adaptation to ever exist, the most faithful adaptation of the novel that I have ever seen is a 2018 Japanese TV drama called The Count of Monte Cristo Great Revenge. And it's...
Quacks.
GquuuuuuX. No. It's different in that it's set in Japan, and they kind of modify a lot of the story points to make it work in Japan instead of France in the past.
Okay.
But like beat for beat, the actual plot elements, the things the characters do, the decisions they make, the outcomes of plots, and the ending are 100% faithful to the book.
Okay.
So it's very odd, but there you go.
Interesting. Okay.
A little bit of a Monte Cristo rant for you there.
Okay. Well, connected to what we're talking about today.
It is. So let's get into our movie for the day. Three Musketeers, also known as Three Musketeers Milady, Part 2 Milady, however you want to form the title.
Milady!
Directed by Martin Bourboulon.
Same director as the first one.
Same director as the first one. Same crew, same staff. They did these at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And it picks up pretty much where the first one leaves off.
And I don't think we need to talk about genre. We established that last time.
Mm-hmm. It's Three Musketeers. That's the genre.
Same deal. This is trying to be like a modern, gridded up take.
Yeah, in the vein of the whole Hollywood blockbuster type thing. Yeah, so we start the movie, and we're getting a little bit of... it pretty much starts with the council with the king and his brother, Gaston. And they're talking about how all of the attackers that we saw in the beginning, or the end of the first one, are the ones that were imprisoned, were all found murdered.
Yep.
They're all dead. We don't see this happen. We're just told about it.
Can't get any confessions out of them now.
Nope.
The conspiracy exists still.
But
and then we get
Louis XIII is all in on a war against Protestants now.
Yep. Got to take care of them.
Yes. And
he kind of wants to do like just a one, like swift... We march on this one spot, we attack here, we take it out.
Right. Their plan is to attack the city of La Rochelle.
Yep.
Where the Protestants are headed up. Gaston and them want to keep going, but he's like, no, we're not going to have a never-ending war. We're just going to have a decisive blow here, weaken them, take out their leadership.
Make it clear they can't do anything, and then pack it up.
Yeah.
And then have peace.
So, again, we see Louis XIII actually being pretty thoughtful and reserved. And
again, great performance on him, too.
Yeah, he's really good. But back to our hero, D'Artagnan, who was knocked out at the end of the first one.
Yep. They make the big sin of many Part 2 movies that they have like a recap of the first film.
Yeah, a little recap, yeah. Because it's been a few months. Maybe you hadn't seen it.
Super cut. And we pick back up where we were with Constance being abducted.
Yep.
And D'Artagnan knocked out as he attempts to save her.
But he wakes up inside a coffin on a wagon.
Which seems to be his M.O.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's actually a dead dude next to him. But they take him into this castle.
I like this introduction, too, because you're locked in the coffin with D'Artagnan.
Right.
And you're just hearing the guards talk and stuff. And not getting a lot of perspective at first.
Mm-hmm. And you hear, like, someone give a command about, hey, tie this dude up, put him in a prison, whatever.
Yeah.
But D'Artagnan wakes up and fights the guy, the guard.
Yeah, pretty epic struggle, too.
Gets the best of him. Yeah, there's some good hand-to-hand stuff here. Puts on his livery, starts sneaking around the castle, as you do.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because he's looking for Constance. He thinks that she's here. Constance is here.
You hear that a lot this film.
You do. But he sneaks around into one of the chambers, and he gets the drop on the lord of the place.
Yeah, the Comte de Chalais.
Yep.
Who is one of Gaston's conspirators.
Indeed. And Chalais is like, hey, do you know who I am? I'm playing that card. And he's like, I don't care who you are. But D'Artagnan is asking, okay, where is she? Where is she kept? Take me to her. So he takes D'Artagnan to a cell, but does not find Constance, but finds Milady.
Yes, and she's been chained up and has been tortured.
Yeah, it looks like she's been abused somewhat.
So rightfully, they kind of set aside their feud to work together and escape.
Yep. Chalet gets away in a struggle, but they get a hold of the guard, get his keys, get Milady free. Then they're running around all through the keep, trying to evade the guards. And it's kind of a funny scene where, like, D'Artagnan's trying to escape altogether, and Milady just goes right back up into the keep. And he's like, what the fuck? So he starts following her.
She's got good evidence.
And she's gone through all these letters and stuff and gathering them and taking them. Get another little fight scene. But eventually, they do escape. They jump into the moat and swim off.
No, cool, epic little escape scene.
Yeah, little fight here.
And then they take refuge at a cave they find in the forest.
Mm-hmm. Some lady gets all seductive, as she does.
We get like one of the most classic tropes of an adventure story.
Oh, we're all wet. We have to get out of these clothes.
Two people who have been formerly enemies up to this point are stranded somewhere, have to take all their clothes off to get dry, and somehow begin to bond a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, she's trying to have sexy time with him, and he's like, no, my heart belongs to another, and all that stuff.
And she says some cool stuff here, too, where she kind of points out, like, you are more like me than you realize. We're killers. We'll do anything that we got to do to get the job done.
Right.
You have more affinity to me than you do to Constance. But he resists.
He does.
He resists Ava Green.
Somehow. Yeah, I know. It's superhuman strength. Yeah, he wakes up the next...
I'll be honest, my memory's hazy because it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure in the novel they hook up.
Oh, they do. They totally do.
Yeah,
I was reading it. I haven't actually read the novel, but I was reading a synopsis of the novel. And it turns out that the old 70s version with Michael York and all that is more faithful to the original story than this is.
Oh, surprising.
Yeah, because there's a lot of that from the novel in that original, in the 74 book or movie. But anyway, yes. So D'Artagnan wakes up in the morning the guards have tracked them down and found them.
Yep.
So the goon has D'Artagnan out. He's calling for Milady to come out. He's got a gun to his head. Milady just shoots the fucker. And there's a fight. There's a struggle. Pretty decent fight here. I like how they do a lot of, like, they start with a sword fight or a dagger fight or something, but then it usually comes down to grappling, which would happen a lot. So that's fun. But then Milady rides out and is like, hey, basically, I saved your life. Yeah.
We're even now.
Yeah, we're even, and she rides off.
But while they were asleep, D'Artagnan rifled through her things.
Yeah, he's got some of the letters.
And took some of those letters.
Which are in code, so he doesn't know what the fuck it says.
So he doesn't know what they mean.
And Milady was like, hey, these letters will tell us who the real conspirators are who tried to kill the king.
Because this is where it gets kind of shady, because it's like the cardinal is plotting, but really his plotting is to, like, make what he wants to have happen, but also keep the king in power.
Yeah, there's different interests going on.
So the other conspiracy eventually wants to supplant the king with his brother.
Right.
Which is counter to what the cardinal wants.
Right. So then we kind of switch to Athos.
Yeah, we pick back up with him.
Who was riding back to his family chateau.
We see his son now.
Yeah, we see his son.
Is it Joseph?
Yes,
yeah.
Joseph, who is obviously Milady's son. Mm-hmm. And they're, like, going out to visit the grave of his mother, and the kids, starting to cry because Athos is pretty much, well, I'm going off to war, and I will be dying. I will not be returning.
You'll be the man of the house now, lord of the castle.
But the kid's like, yeah, say you're going to come back. Promise you'll come back. And Athos is like, yeah, okay, I promise I'll come back. Meanwhile, Aramis is having a little family drama.
Yeah.
Because he finds out that his sister, who is a nun, is preggers.
She hooked up with a soldier.
Who she will not reveal his name.
And Aramis is on the warpath.
He is. And Porthos is along for the ride, trying to calm him down and talk some sense into him and stuff. But Aramis is determined to find out who this father is.
And make sure that he's worthy.
Make sure he's worthy, make sure he does the right thing.
Marries her.
Yep. Meanwhile, D'Artagnan's been hoofing it on foot, and he comes across a company of soldiers, French soldiers, Catholics, and he joins up with them, and eventually he runs into Athos, who has then this is the camp they're going to that's
Yeah.
going to attack La Rochelle.
Yes.
And so
They have a big encampment kind of outside of the city, which is like a walled city with like a big.
yeah, it's kind of like it's
castle
like
battlements.
La Rochelle is like a big like fortified city, but then there is a keep nearby, like across this narrow channel, which is a pretty cool setting.
Yeah.
I
And
think it
across that channel is England. So.
right, exactly.
Which is where they're hoping to get aid from.
Yep. So now D'Artagnan is reunited with the rest of the Musketeers. They have a little reunion.
Kind of catches them up on what he's been up to. Mm-hmm. And he's very in hero mode. He's just like, whatever about this war, I got to find Constance.
Right. And they take that letter that he'd taken from Milady to Captain Trevel. And he's like, okay, well, I'll do some research, look into this.
Yeah. Some kind of cipher, but they don't have the key, so they're a little stuck on that. And then it's that night right in the camp.
Yeah.
D'Artagnan stumbles across Milady.
Yep.
Who has realized that he stole the letters and is now there to retrieve them.
Going through all of his stuff, trying to find it. She's got him at dagger point. Where's the letter? Where's the letter, Lebowski?
She seduces him again. Things get hot and heavy.
And he's going along with it this time.
Yeah, well, now he's been, like, drinking all day, so...
Because she's
he's
like,
boosted up a little.
she's like got her shirt off. Her bodice is all, it's like,
Yep.
ooh.
She is locked in that thing, too.
Mm-hmm. But...
As they start to undress...
he sees that Brandon fleur-de-lis on her shoulder. And realizes, oh, fuck, you're Athos' wife.
Yep.
And she, like, kind of freaks out at this.
She flees in terror. And,
Yep. Holds him at gunpoint and runs out of the tent.
And D'Artagnan goes and tells Athos.
And this is a funny scene
good or
because
ill.
Athos is like, okay, what happened? Show me. Takes her, and there's, like, some of her garments are left there, and he's kind of, like, sniffing them. And he finds, like, an earring.
Yeah, it's a pearl earring.
Yeah, that he had given her to get a little flashback. And there was a moment where I thought Athos was going to, like, punch D'Artagnan for trying to fuck his wife. But then he just sort of claps him on the shoulder.
I mean, I guess he can let it slide. He did sentence his wife to death. So.
True. And it's not like D'Artagnan knew,
He did stop once he knew. He upheld the bro code as best he could.
Yep. So they give it a scene with Gaston and some of the other commanders. They're plotting the siege of La Rochelle. The kings,
They have all their cool little minis on the table.
Yeah, they got their cool little minis. Planning their war. And they say that Duke of Buckingham is sending a fleet of ships from England for reinforcements. And yeah, this is where King Louis is like, okay, I just want to defeat them here at La Rochelle. We're not going to push this war any further. We're going to keep it here, which annoys Gaston because he just wants all the Protestants dead. And...
yeah, this is supposed to be stage one of the bigger war. And so they kind of are mapping out like how they're even going to make this work, because if they get reinforcements from the English, that's going to drag it out further.
Right.
So they kind of want to do this like night raid suicide mission where they send a small force into the keep to infiltrate it and take over the cannons that are up on the walls, and then use those cannons to attack the English's ships and then repel them from meeting up and linking together.
Right.
But they know that like it's very precarious. The fortress is full of guards and soldiers. So they really don't know who's going to make it back or not.
Right. So we need a suicide.
And they want like 2 companies to go. And they're already suspicious of Chalet because of everything D'Artagnan told them.
Yeah, because Trevel told... yeah, because D'Artagnan sees Chalet at the camp earlier.
Yeah. And was like, that's the man that I was at.
Right. And he actually tries to go after him, but he's intercepted by Hannibal.
Oh, Hannibal, yeah.
We introduced to Hannibal here.
We saw him for like a moment in the other film.
Right.
But he's properly introduced here. And this is that character that they're maybe going to try to do a spinoff on.
Right.
Actual historical figure. He was a prince from, was it Asin, I think?
Yes.
And he loved the idea of the Musketeers and actually got made one and fought with them historically.
Yeah, and there's a funny line where D'Artagnan asks him if he's from Gascony, and Hannibal says, Equatorial Gascony.
Yeah, I like the little interaction.
But he keeps him from losing his cool and going to kill Chalet And so D'Artagnan goes to Captain Trevel, and he tells him that, hey, I know Chalet is a traitor, but he's not the mastermind.
Right.
So we want to keep him alive right now.
So in planning this mission, Gaston's like, I need volunteers to run the mission. And no one says anything at first. And then the Cardinal's like, I know a man who's told me of his religious zeal that he would love to lead a mission like this.
He's just got a hard on to go out there and fight.
And he's ready to prove himself now, and that's...
Count to Chalet.
Chalet.
And Chalet's like, what? Huh? But of course he can't back down after being called out by the Cardinal. So he's like, yeah, I would be honored to lead this mission.
And so now that he's tripped off, Trevelyan is like, okay.
Yeah, he's got to go
Something
too.
funny's going on. So
and he's like, Musketeers never back down from a fight.
Yeah.
We're going to.
So then we get this awesome keep infiltration scene.
Yep.
Just fucking amazing. This is like the best part of the film, I think.
Yeah, when the tide is in that narrow channel between the city and the keep, the water's fairly high, so they're like traveling through it. They've got like these little rafts with crates on it, and the crates contain their weapons,
so
and they're just kind of like swimming along and pushing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they get to the other side, get all their weapons out. They're infiltrating the keep, the whole grappling hook rope thing.
Scale the wall.
Yep. And they're getting into the courtyard, but hey, the Protestants were tipped off. They knew this was going to happen.
It's almost like someone in the conspiracy was at the meeting.
Yeah, almost. So yeah, they're like coming out of the wagons and stuff. They're all armed. They got the drop on the Musketeers and Chalet and his men. And then Chalet is like immediately, hey, I want to throw in my lot with you guys. But what's his name? Benjamin?
Yep.
Athos' brother, the leader of the Protestants. He's like, we don't trust you. And he shoots him. He's like, if your Lord has no use for you and sends you on this suicide mission, what good are you to us?
Yeah, you mean nothing to us at this point.
So Chalet is grievously wounded. Big fight breaks out. And Chevalier is like, you're all here attacking us. Who's guarding your towers? And at that moment, Hannibal and his men are like firing cannon.
They split off a separate team of musketeers to go do the actual job.
Yep.
Trevelyan was just a decoy.
So chaos breaks out. We get another good fight.
We get some cool cannon action. They shoot the ships of the English.
Yeah, the English ship's showing up, and there's some cool shots. So
they order a retreat because they can't get close enough to make landfall.
Yep. And
we get some epic courtyard dueling by the musketeers.
Mm-hmm.
And we also get a great scene where D'Artagnan grabs up Chalet and is like, "Where's Constance? Where's Constance?"
Right, yeah. But the guy's like basically, he's passing out. So then D'Artagnan has to help him get out of there. Porthos is also wounded in the fray.
Unfortunately, yes.
But they do manage to get out of the city. Yeah, and the English Navy is repelled. They turn back. And eventually they get back to the camp. And Chalet is being treated by the nuns. And Matilda is there, who is Aramis' sister.
Yep.
There was a scene earlier we skipped over where Aramis and Porthos managed to track down the father.
Let's talk about this. Yeah, it's when they first get to the camp.
Mm-hmm. And that's his name's Villeneuve is the name of the officer. And he's this arrogant bastard. He's like talking down to the musketeers. He says he has no intention to marry Matilda because basically their family doesn't have enough money.
Well, I love it too because they walk up and Aramis just pulls out his glove and hurls it at him.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, prepare yourself.
And before Porthos said, "I'll bet you 1,000 francs or whatever that you're going to start a duel." And there are some really nice shots here when they're riding into the city and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
He throws his glove at him, but the guy's like, "No, I'm not going to duel you." And Aramis is like, "What? What do you mean you're not going to duel?"
He's like, "Are you stupid? Duels are illegal. They're outlawed. We can't duel."
And he also knows that he's going to die because he says that you're an excellent swordsman. There's no way I'm going to survive this. And then Porthos is trying to talk some sense into them, but then Villeneuve insults him. It's like, "Who is your foul-mouthed friend who's speaking to me?" And then Porthos is drawing his pistol. But then there's this huge explosion. They're under attack, and a cannon shot has taken out Villeneuve.
Yeah, it literally hits exactly where he's standing.
Yeah. And then Aramis and Porthos are wounded, but not terribly.
And we get a funny follow-up scene to that where they're trying to tell Matilda what happened.
Yeah. And Porthos decides to lie, and he's like, Villeneuve was all like, "Yeah, I will do the right honorable thing. I will marry her.
I think she's wonderful."
But he saw the attack coming, and he managed to get Aramis out of the way and took
pushed
the
him
hit.
out of the way. Yeah.
So
Sacrificed himself.
He was a man of honor and died rightly that way. So Matilda is, happy that at least her baby daddy was noble. Let's see. Okay, back in the camp, Chalet's being treated. He tells Matilda to, hey, come get me if he regains consciousness. I need to talk to him. It's a matter of woman's safety.
Yep. We have to help Constance.
Constance. However, before D'Artagnan can interrogate him, he's getting better. Matilda goes to tell D'Artagnan, but when they come back, Gaston has visited and has murdered Chalet.
To silence him.
Mm-hmm.
And Gaston even plays it off like that. He's like, I was with him for his last moments, and I made sure he was right with God.
Yep. It's like, great. Well, I can't attack you here in front of everybody, so.
And then, meanwhile, this is right when Athos notices Milady creeping around, right?
Let's see. Shortly, yes. We get a little scene with Benjamin saying with the conspirators saying he's going to get the Duke back in the fight. They're going to sneak off to England and convince him to come back and fight some more. But yeah, the Musketeers are around talking, and they see the Cardinal rolling up in a carriage. And they're like, what the fuck's he doing here? So they decide to follow him. And yeah, they're spying on Athos and Aramis. And they're spying on him because Porthos is still recovering. And they see who they think is Milady speaking with the Cardinal. And Athos is like, hey, go get D'Artagnan. And he sits there and kind of listens for a while.
Yeah, and she's getting orders that she needs to go and assassinate the Duke of Buckingham.
Go kill the Duke, yep. And she's
that way will undermine the war effort for the Protestants.
Yeah, and she's like, this is kind of a big deal. Can I get a get-out-of-jail-free card? She makes the Cardinal write, like, the bearer of this note has done what must be done, blah, blah, blah.
Basically, everything that she's done from before, any time in the past, up until now, and into the future, has always been done in the service of the Crown of France.
Yep, and signs it.
To secure its peace and stability.
Right. So she seems satisfied by this, and she's like, hey, one more thing. I want the Musketeers dead. And he's like, hey, they're soldiers. Soldiers die every day.
Yep. He's like, you just gotta wait. It'll happen eventually.
Yep. So
he departs.
And Athos comes out and confronts Milady. And yeah, it is his ex-wife. Or dead wife, I guess.
Talks about the son for a little bit.
Yeah, and one thing I'm confused about, how did she switch bodies with somebody else? Because they hung somebody, right? Hanged somebody.
Yeah.
That's not really explored here. I guess it's not that big of a deal. I mean, she's Milady. She's pretty devious.
I thought she said it, though. I thought that, she like seduced the guard and...
Maybe.
Yeah.
Perhaps I wasn't paying attention. I don't know.
I mean, in the book, that's what happens.
My mind wandered. I'm sure it was something very much like that. But yeah, so Athos is overcome with emotion. He's like down on his knees. He's asking for forgiveness. She's got her little stiletto out. She's like, yeah, I'll forgive you. But then D'Artagnan and Aramis come rolling back up.
And she flees.
Yeah. Athos is telling D'Artagnan to shoot her, but he won't.
Yeah.
Because she knows where Constance is. At least he thinks she does. No, yeah, because Milady tells him that, hey, you kill me, you're never going to find Constance. Because only I know where she's at now. Because she says that the Cardinal had her abducted that night. Mm-hmm. And we get a little flashback showing Milady was there. And
she says the Cardinal knew that Constance knew who the conspirators were. And so he had her abducted to keep her safe.
Yep. So, having this knowledge, D'Artagnan goes off to confront the Cardinal, draws his pistol on him. It's like, hey, motherfucker, where is Constance?
Yeah, this is like the brass balls moment, too. Cause he walks in alone, no backup, totally surrounded by soldiers.
Sticks his gun in his face.
Puts his gun in his face.
But the Cardinal's pretty cool. He's like, you're not going to shoot me.
He even kind of says, like, you didn't have to do it this way.
Right. And he's like, you should have joined us. I offered you a position. You should have taken it. But then he tells D'Artagnan the truth. He says that he took Constance to go see Queen Anne at this convent, at this church that she was praying at, because he was going to tell the Queen the truth, like who was conspiring against the king. But he wanted it to come from Constance. That way the queen would actually believe this.
And trust that it wasn't one of his plans.
Yep.
And he says, so what happened after that, only the queen knows.
Right.
She probably...
He left Constance there.
She's in her care, or she put her somewhere.
Right.
So you need to speak to the queen.
And he is also like, I won't forget this.
And he says, I won't forget this, and you're going to regret drawing your gun on me.
Yeah. But D'Artagnan rides off to find Constance.
Now he's got to speak to the queen.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Gaston's men catch up to the Protestants that were trying to sneak out.
And they capture them.
They capture them. They have them put on crosses, basically. They're like tied to these crosses in that little narrow channel. And the tide's coming in, and it's getting up into their faces. And they're basically using them as bait. Because he says, if the Protestants actually care about their leaders, they're going to come out and try to save them. And that's when we're going to kill them all.
Yep. Have guns trained on those at all times.
Yep. Meanwhile, D'Artagnan is meeting with the Queen, and
she confirms the Cardinal story, which is good.
Confirms the Cardinal story and says Constance isn't here. I have sent her to England to be with the Duke of Buckingham, where she'll be safe.
Sent her to the one person I knew would keep her safe if I asked.
Yep. So then D'Artagnan's like, fuck, now I got to go to England. Damn.
Which is also where Milady is headed to assassinate the Duke.
Ooh, I wonder if they're going to meet up.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Benjamin's not doing too good hanging up there on the cross.
Yeah.
Turns out that, that's not good for people.
No.
Seems like someone would have learned that lesson by now.
Right.
And Athos is very conflicted, and finally he comes to the conclusion, it's my brother. I have to save him. I can't let him die like this.
Yeah. And Aramis is like, I'll go with you. But then Athos just punches him out, so he doesn't have to risk his life. And
I love it because D'Artagnan's back at this point.
Yeah.
He's getting ready to go across the channel. And then he comes in and Aramis is unconscious and he's like, the fuck happened?
Yeah, what's going on? He's like, oh, fuck, Athos, we gotta go help him. So Athos is riding off. Actually, no, he's walking. That's right. And it's a pretty cool shot because the tide's out and he's walking along this, just a sandy beach, basically.
And you kind of get the camera perspective like you're one of the guards up on the keep.
Right.
Looking out at him.
And they're watching him, and they're like, oh, okay, well, get ready to fire here in a few minutes. But then D'Artagnan and Aramis come riding up, and they begin rescuing Benjamin and everyone. And the captain is like, hey, okay, open fire, fucking kill them. But then Hannibal comes out and says, nope, those are Musketeers, and I'm ordering you not to do it. And he said... basically, he's dropping Louis XIII's name because Louis XIII is his godfather, apparently, and gave him his titles. And he shows, the royal ring, signet ring. Yeah.
And he's basically like, if the Musketeers are doing something, they're obviously doing it for the good of France.
Yep. They're like, okay, well, I guess we're not going to shoot them then. While this is happening, Porthos has been flirting with Matilda, who's been tending to his injuries. So that's the little thing that's going on. You know where this is headed. Horny, drunk Porthos.
But again, it makes me sad because when we did the first part, we talked about the fact that it's very Athos and D'Artagnan centric.
Yeah.
And we were like, hopefully in part 2...
Right, we don't get
Aramis and Porthos would get their time to shine. I feel like Aramis gets a little more time.
He gets a little bit more, and there's the scene with both of them and the Villeneuve and all that, and that's fun. But yeah, they're still short-shrifted, big time. And Hannibal is short-shrifted too.
And then Porthos, he spends most of the film laid up in a bed.
Yeah.
Not even in the mix on anything.
Which the character, Porthos, probably likes.
But we, the viewer, who wants to see all four of them...
in action.
Yeah.
The whole all for one and one for all type thing. We don't really get a lot of that because they're not really ever together.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a part of the actual original story. I know they do get separated several times.
There's a lot of passages where like one of them's here and two of them's here and then they all link back up. And
right.
But you definitely get those moments of like, here we are.
Yeah. But Gaston's men roll up and they are arresting Captain Chevalier for the Musketeers' actions of going out and rescuing the Protestants. At the same time, Milady has arrived at Duke Buckingham's. She's posing as like, what name does she give? Lady Cleric.
Yeah.
The wagon she was in, the wheel broke. So being all gallant, the Duke invites her in to dine with him and everything, and he's kind of like, I recognize your voice. It sounds familiar to me because they did meet before at the party.
The masquerade.
But then Constance comes out, of course, recognizes Milady.
Oh, I love too when she's flirting with the Duke at first. She keeps talking up how nice his like whatever like person found her and brought her in.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he's like, if you compliment that man one more time, I may have to fire him.
Right. I think, yeah. He's horny.
He is.
But having been found out, Milady just fucking grabs her stiletto and tries to kill the Duke, but it's stopped.
This was surprising because she's so composed and always has like a plan B, C, D, E, F.
Yeah.
And when she gets caught, she's just like, fuck it, I'm going to kill him now.
Right. I think there would have been something a little bit more clever.
So she's captured.
Captured, yep. And the Duke tells Constance that Milady will be executed. And he shows her the document that the Cardinal made that she was carrying. Mm-hmm. So, he knows who's responsible. He knows what's going on. But Constance goes to talk to Milady. And Milady is telling Constance that she's innocent in all this. And, what's the problem that Constance is innocent in all this?
Yeah.
And she basically asks Constance to bring her a dagger so she can end her own life.
Yeah.
She says something about how like men have run her life her whole life. Yeah. They've always had control over her, but they're not going to kill her.
Yeah, everything that's happened to her, it's been men making the choices, forcing it upon her.
Yeah.
And she's just tried to survive.
Right.
And so she's like, this is my final moment. And I'm going to die. I want to take myself out.
Yep.
No one else can.
But Constance is a good Catholic. She's like, hey, I can't help you commit suicide. That's a sin too.
And then she's like, well, think about it.
Yeah,
think about it. See me in the morning before the execution, and I'm going to trust that you'll do the right thing.
Right.
Which is give me a dagger.
Yeah.
And so instead, being the very kind-hearted person that she is, Constance decides that she is going to swap clothes with Milady and allow her to escape.
Yep. So she's left imprisoned while Milady leaves dressed as Constance. She does not think this very far, does she? She just does not think ahead.
No.
So the men come for Milady, who's actually Constance, and they have a bag. They put it over her head, and Constance is like, "Oh wait, no, you got the wrong person. I'm Constance." And they're like, "Whatever."
They're like,
the
"Shut
Duke
up."
said you would say whatever you would. That's to try to save your own life.
Yeah, the Duke told us how manipulative you were.
Right. So they're just hauling her off with the bag over her head, taking her out to be hanged.
And about that time, D'Artagnan and crew are rocking up to the Duke's castle.
And in the meantime, Benjamin had given Athos the Bible that has all the codes in it, so they can decode the letters and stuff, which will come in handy later.
And so we get this triumphant scene of them like rushing in there as Constance is being hung.
Yep. And D'Artagnan and the rest are rushing into the courtyard, but it's too late. He has a few words with Constance. They kind of pledge their love to each other.
And she fades.
And she fucking dies.
Which they put, like, it's a gnarly rope burn.
Yeah.
The special effects for it.
Yeah. So, of course, D'Artagnan is enraged. The Duke comes out and says, oh, they've cornered Milady. She's in this manor house. She's already killed, like, 3 men and set the place afire.
He's like, can you guys take care of this? And D'Artagnan says, gladly.
And he runs in by himself. Then we get a fight, which I'm sorry is just really underwhelming.
It for this to be the final showdown between the two of them, it's really underwhelming. Pretty weak.
And it should be cool and epic because they're in a burning building. Yeah. There's fire all around, but it's so fake looking. Like it's obviously just like fire bars here and there.
Yeah.
There's no smoke, which is one thing that always annoys me in these movies when there's like a room that's full of flames. There's zero smoke. So they're fighting, and
turn on those fog machines. Come on.
Yeah, give us something. And it's a fairly pedestrian fight. There's nothing special here.
And then they do the worst kind of resolution where she stumbles back. You hear a creak. The building collapses, and D'Artagnan's forced to rush out.
Yeah,
but they never find her body.
Yeah, it looks like she got crushed and burned, but no, we know she didn't.
And D'Artagnan kind of collapses from all the chaos, but his friends drag him out.
Yep. And then sometime later, we see that Captain Chevalier is on trial.
Yeah, we're back in the court.
But the Musketeers arrive with the attestation that the Cardinal signed. they're carrying it now. So they're going to be forgiven for whatever they did because they're the holders of this.
Well, yeah, because when they barge in and they try to, they're like, stop, you can't do this. We have proof. And they're like, well, you're the ones that are actually supposed to be on trial.
Yeah.
You're the ones that did all of this.
Right.
And then they're like, well, about that, we've got a pardon from the cardinal.
Yep.
Don't we, cardinal?
And he's like, oh, fuck, yeah.
He's kind of like, I got to go along with this because it'll ruin everything otherwise.
So they have the Bible with all the codes and stuff, and it's linked to Gaston.
And I do love when they present the Bible and they start translating the letter. They do a shot where it cuts to Gaston, and just the realization is sinking in. That's like, when they translate that,
I'm fucked.
I'm fucked.
Yeah. And Louis looks at him like, oh, yeah. Should have seen it coming.
So then Gaston is rightfully put out.
Presumably he will be. We just see them find out that he's the one who did it, and he like hangs his head. And that's it.
They exonerate Trevier.
Yep. Trevier tries to promote Athos to captain, but Athos says he has a promise to keep. Porthos tells Aramis that he found a husband for Matilda. Obvious himself.
Aramis kind of reluctantly agrees.
So then the promotion falls to D'Artagnan.
Yep. He's made captain.
Meanwhile, Athos rides back to the chateau to keep his promise to his son.
So let me just say, before you go on.
Yeah.
The movie should have ended right there. Boom, he's the captain.
He's the captain, yeah.
That's the ending.
Right.
Okay, now continue with this bullshit.
Okay. Athos rides back to a chateau to keep his promise to his young son. Predictably finds the son missing and the other pearl earring on the pillow.
Yeah. God damn it. God damn it. I'm going to flip this table over.
It's pretty heavy, dude. You're going to pull something. So we get another cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Without part 3 being filmed. Although I have read that apparently it's in plans. It's in like pre-production.
Yeah, it's nothing official yet, but...
And they plan on doing the 20 years after story. So I guess we'll get a time jump when the son is grown up.
Yeah. So...
but if they don't make that, because that's not guaranteed, this movie ends with a fucking cliffhanger.
And that's the problem, because the novel ends with that definitive, like, heroic moment.
Right.
And then, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And then...
Because they kill Milady at the end. They execute her. And then, D'Artagnan finally gets his promotion, and they're all together, and they're all happy and celebrating.
And then you skip 20 years, and then you get a new status quo, and you kind of take the time to figure that out. And,
right.
You don't have anything teasing.
Yeah.
So,
it's a very annoying ending. It really hurts the movie.
So some unusual differences from the book, and I know some.
I got one that's pissing me off, and I don't know why. Okay. You go ahead.
You go ahead. I'm curious.
Where the fuck is Rochefort?
Okay, yeah, he's a critical individual.
They kind of use, I guess, Chalet is kind of because he's not in the novel, right?
No.
Why did they not just use Rochefort?
I don't know.
Because that was the character that Christopher Lee played in the old 70s versions, awesomely, I might add. And I thought, when I saw the first one, I'm like, okay, well, he's not there. Maybe he's going to pop, he's going to be the big bad in the second one. But he never shows up. Because he's like D'Artagnan's constant opponent and enemy.
Yeah. I guess they kind of try to make that one guy be like a reoccurring thing, like that one goon that's always doing shit.
Yeah, but we don't even know his fucking name.
Yeah, he's never named, and they never have a showdown.
He's not a threatening presence.
I
guess they wanted to concentrate all the badness on Milady, but she's just not. And they also try to soften her too. Yeah, like she doesn't kill.
They try to make her more sympathetic,
right? Because in the novel, she kills Constance.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. Is instead of like the big showdown at the Duke's, that all happens, but minus Constance. And then the Queen had sent Constance to a convent to hide in. And so after all the stuff in England, when everybody's coming back, Milady kind of washes up and things went sideways. And she tries to hide in the convent, pretending to be...
It's kind of coincidence, really.
She doesn't even know that Constance is there. And then when she realizes Constance is there, she was like, oh, fuck, this is D'Artagnan's chick. Well, I'm going to fucking kill her. He can't be happy.
Right.
And she straight up poisons her.
Yeah, because D'Artagnan in the novel tricks Milady into having sex with him, thinking that he is her husband when he wasn't. And yeah, so I like that because that makes D'Artagnan not entirely innocent of all the bad things that happen.
And then that echoes Milady's assessment of him that like we are similar in ways. You just don't want to see it.
Right. So they soften both D'Artagnan in this. They make him more of the generic action hero guy.
Yeah.
And they soften Milady, trying to make her a more sympathetic villain, because that's the trend these days. Every villain has to have this big tragic backstory, and we have to feel sorry for them and shit. And it just sort of neuters both characters, in my opinion.
I agree. And this ending is just painful because, again, it's teasing more when it didn't need to.
Yeah, even the 70s version had Milady kill Constance.
Yeah.
I mean, she fucking strangles her in that one.
I mean, she is a villain. Let's be clear. And it's cool to understand her. And I think in the novel they do a great deal of like she was mistreated and oppressed, and that is the way why she is the way she is.
And it doesn't forgive the things she does.
Right.
You know.
You understand it, but it's like
Doesn't justify it.
Yeah. And so I think it makes her weaker in this film to
Definitely,
do it that way.
Big time.
And then also that they want to make like an Origins spin-off series, and because that was the only thing that's known is they're supposed to be trying to do a streaming like miniseries that's Milady Origins. That's like her coming up when she's younger.
That's just it. They're taking way too many cues from the American. I know that was their intention, but it's too American.
It makes me think of when they made the Cruella de Vil like origin
fuck
film.
That shit. She skins puppies.
They cast Emma.
How do you redeem a character that skins puppies to wear their fur?
They cast America's sweetheart Emma Stone and then try to make her super sympathetic, and it's like she's a crazy bitch that skins dogs.
There's no coming back from that.
You can't walk that backwards.
Yeah, she looks cool, but that's not enough to make her like this anti-hero type. It's I misunderstood. Fuck, what the fuck? Why can't we just have villains anymore?
For real. And so I kind of know where this is going. If you know the novels, in 20 years after, there's
set 20 years after,
which is set 20 years after, picks up with everyone. There's a very iconic character that's reoccurring in that story. Let me get it here. He goes by the name of Mordaunt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sort of this vicious rogue that is opposing them at every turn and showing up and attacking them and going back and stuff.
Right.
And the big twist about that is that they eventually find out that he is the son of Milady. And he has this vicious grudge against the four of them.
Sure.
Because they had her executed.
Makes sense, yeah.
And he wants to right that wrong. And so he's like on and off again their antagonist through a lot of that novel. And there's this whole big like final part where I want to say it's like a fight on a boat that they're having. And then let me find it. I got the synopsis up here. I can find it real quick.
So basically that's going to be Joseph in the next one. Milady's going to have raised him to train him to be a roguish spy and hate the Musketeers, and he's going to be trying to...
Yeah. So they're escaping after this big fight, and they're on a boat. And then they think that Mordaunt like died in the explosion, and then it turns out he's alive, and they have a final showdown. And then he makes like kind of all these statements about the wrongs they've done, and Athos tries to like reason with him, and they have this huge fight. And in the chaos of the fight, he like falls out of the boat, and then Athos tries to save him, and then Mordaunt tries to drag him down so they'll die together.
Mm-hmm.
And the other Musketeers manage to save Athos at the last moment, and Mordaunt kind of sinks into the depths dead. And then Athos gives this whole speech about how he once had a son that he wanted to live, and it kind of vaguely suggests that maybe Mordaunt is the son that he had with Milady, but he doesn't know.
Right.
Because that's a whole twist completely, that in like the Three Musketeers part, they never talk about him having a son.
Right.
That was something the film added in.
Yeah.
I guess because they're wanting to make this connective tissue set up for Mordaunt. Which I'm like, does that work though? Because part of the whole thing of that is like, he's this random badass that shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Why does he hate us so much?
Right.
And then you get that big twist reveal of like, I am Milady's kid.
Yeah.
You sentenced her to death. Uh-huh. And then you get that final stinger of like, could he have been Athos' son?
Yeah. And in the third movie of the old 70s one that came out in the 80s, Revenge of the Musketeers.
Yep.
Which is, it's 20 years after, it's the same story. And yeah, it's just another femme fatale that's Milady's daughter.
So
played
same
by Kim
idea.
Cattrall. Yeah. And she's trying to kill the Musketeers, and Rochefort's there. Again, he wasn't actually killed by D'Artagnan. But I think it follows the story fairly closely. It just swaps genders, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
So I think that this second film was sloppy. That's what I'm going to say.
It is.
It's very sloppy.
Yeah. It's almost like there's not enough there to warrant a second movie even. It seems like it could have been condensed or like 1 3-hour film.
So I thought about that. We have 2 films and about 4 hours of content. And I know it's a big cut, but I wonder if it could have been 1 3-hour film.
Yeah.
Or maybe even like, 3:15, 3:20, something.
I think that would have been better.
It's a big ask, but I don't think it's too.
There's stuff you could cut. Yeah, it's not.
Like, do we really need the subplot about Matilda? That's not really.
Yeah, it doesn't add a lot. It has some fun scenes, but does it add anything at the end of the day?
And then the Hannibal thing too, like that is cool.
But he's barely used.
And it seems like it's just a setup for doing the streaming show.
Yeah.
Which maybe you don't need.
Yeah, right. Maybe we don't need that.
Yeah. So, I think I went first last time. What do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we already kind of started talking about it. We know where we're going on this one. There's a lot to like. There's some pretty decent fights. There's some nice cinematography. Production values are good. That last fight irritates me because it was very underwhelming.
Yeah. Props
to Eva Green for doing a lot of the fighting, but it's just not very good. And it's not her fault. It's also the way it's shot. It's just boring.
Yeah.
Very boring.
Which is surprising because, like, that first film, the duel that happens in the woods.
Yeah.
That one's so good.
That was good. And the very first one in the rain and stuff, that was neat. Yeah, it's just, especially for finale, it's just very weak. I don't know if there's a story there, if the production was rushed, if they ran out of money. I don't know.
I couldn't turn anything up.
But it looked cheap. It looked bad.
I think the woes of modern film and show production started to rear its head.
Yeah.
In that second one.
Right. And again,
when they started to go, what sequels can we make? What streaming shows can we make?
Yeah.
What spinoffs can we have?
And the fight between Milady and D'Artagnan, there's a lot of medium shots, which is fine. At least there's not a little rapid editing to substitute for action. Yeah. But at the same time, when you have an actor who isn't the best swords person, that's when you cut to like a long shot and you've got a stunt double.
Stunt double, yeah.
And we get to lock the camera down and see them fight, or shoot it from angles where you're not seeing their faces constantly.
Yeah.
And then you sell more of the sword fight. I don't know. It's very annoying. Very annoying.
Yeah.
I keep thinking back to like The Princess Bride during these types of scenes.
Okay.
Where, the actors did most of the sword fighting. They really trained. But they would also use stunt doubles now and then, you know?
Sure.
And the way that fight was shot, it was very stagey, yes. But you also saw everything.
And it was cool.
And it was thrilling and cool.
And I feel like they have with that, like Dread Pirate Roberts, he's got the mask, so stunt double's easy. Right. I feel like with this, if they had the hats, right, you can kind of cover their face with the big hat and
or if Milady's hair is down and in her face and stuff,
There's plenty of ways to spoof that.
So ultimately, it's disappointing. I don't like it as much as the first one. I hate the fucking cliffhanger. God damn, you've already done that once.
Yeah, I know, and you didn't need to do it on the first one either.
And okay, they knew what they were gonna do.
Because now it's like you could never watch that first one and just be like, okay, I'm good. You're obligated to watch the next one.
Yeah.
Because of the cliffhanger, and then this one cliffhangers.
And I will again bring up Empire Strikes Back, probably the best sequel ever made, except for maybe The Godfather 2. But a lot of people like to call that a cliffhanger, and it's not really a cliffhanger.
Everything up to that point has been resolved.
Yes, we know what happens. Yeah. And it's been resolved. We know Han is gone. We know he's in Carbonite. We know he's going to Jabba. We know that they're going to plan on going to find him and rescue him. But yeah, everything else is resolved. It doesn't stop at something and be like, ooh, what's going to happen next?
And there is a war, and we know there's a war, and the war is going to go on.
Yeah.
Inevitably, but for the characters and what they experience, that is like, boom, done.
Yeah. Even if they wanted to end with his son being gone, even if there was something like, I don't know. It's just...
They didn't need the son. They should have saved that for the big reveal and when they do the 20 years after thing.
Right. Yeah. Because it's going to be completely obvious who it is.
Yeah, we already know.
Son,
yeah. And then also 20 years after is going to be weird because Milady's still alive.
Right, and she's supposed to be dead.
So you're going to keep her in there too?
Because this whole thing is vengeance.
Yeah.
And yeah, she could raise him and train him to hate the Musketeers and stuff.
And then maybe she dies in between, but then that's so shallow too that like your important character, her death happens between the films.
Right. It just seems they're taking so much of this French classic
Yeah.
and changing it for this French film. You think they would be more faithful to the source material.
And that was kind of their listed thing. Let's give this a new, fresh readaptation.
Well, I guess we can't do anything the old way, can we? 'Cause it's old and boring, and no one wants that. Anyway, yeah. So I was disappointed. I would give it 3 stars.
Okay.
Because it's still a good movie.
It is a good movie.
It's still worth watching. If you like sword fights, if you like, romantic era type daring doos, you could do a lot worse than this.
And again, the acting, great across the board.
Yeah, everyone's good.
Cinematography, great across the board. Score, maybe doesn't stand out too much,
It doesn't.
but
it's serviceable.
Gets the job done.
Yeah.
Does everything you want. Costumes are cool. I know you're not so big on the dungeon punk thing, but I like it.
I'm not. I wish they actually looked more like Musketeers would have looked.
Awesome that they leaned low on special effects, kept it all practical.
Mm-hmm.
Not much CG stuff going on.
Here and there, but nothing egregious. Yeah, so that's my review. What do you think about it?
I am so surprised. I never thought going into the second one that I would come out of it feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes these 2 episodes interesting, I think, to listen to the first one and how we felt, and then come to this one. And then especially for me, coupled with also watching on the side the Count of Monte Cristo version, which has all the same flaws that the second one does,
right?
In the same way. And man, I gave it 3 stars too.
Yeah,
it's just
it's a disappointment.
It's disappointing. Yeah. It's weak in a lot of ways, and I almost wanted to give it 2, but I mean it's too well made to be a 2-star movie.
Yeah, this isn't a 2-star movie.
That low.
No.
But it's just it's the choices they made I just don't understand, and then the ending was just big miss for me.
Yeah,
not cool with it.
Hey, did you listen to any of the English dub?
No.
Oh God, it's awful.
Is it?
It is so bad. It's so.
I saw they had it listed as a separate thing you could watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, I watched some of it.
I figured it was pretty rough. Yeah.
But yeah, a disappointment. Ultimately, I still recommend it. Like if you like Three Musketeers, if you like this sort of action adventure type thing, I recommend the movies. Because if you watch the first one, you got to watch the second one.
Yeah,
the whole cliffhanger thing,
And you're not going to be like angry while you're watching it. I don't think.
Right.
I think it's really once you finish it and you take in the whole totality of what it is, you start to be like, no, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Why did you do this? Why did you do that?
Honestly, and this will probably retroactively hurt this movie if 20 years after isn't made.
Oh yeah, then it's embarrassing.
Right. Then you've got this non-ending, and it just really feels cheap.
Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
it is what it is.
Indeed. So that is our little Three Musketeer block.
Super fun. It was cool that we did both films.
Yeah. What's next, though?
I think it was worthwhile that we did both films, because if we had only done that first part, we would have been so jazzed up on it, and then no one would ever hear the...
Well, I mean, from that ending, we had to do the second one. We had to.
Yeah, had to. So where do we go now?
Yeah, what do we do next?
I looked at our listener suggestions. I thought it was time for one.
Okay.
Also didn't really have anything that was like pressing me to be like, we got to do this.
Okay.
So I plucked this one from our listener suggestions. We're going to be talking about 2019, directed by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, names you may recognize if you're podcast regulars, because we do quite enjoy their films. And we're going to talk about Synchronic. Which I never got around to seeing. So.
I have not seen it either.
Cool. So we'll get some first-time feelings on it.
Sweet.
I'll hit you with the synopsis real quick.
All right.
2 New Orleans paramedics have their lives ripped apart after encountering a series of horrific deaths linked to a designer drug with bizarre otherworldly effects.
Ooh. Okay.
So if you know the 2 of them, you know them for stuff like Spring, The Endless.
I haven't seen Spring yet either. I'm gonna watch it.
What's the first one? Is it like Reckoning or?
Something like that. I think. Yeah.
I'll get it here just in a second. Resolution. That's the other one. Yeah. They've done stuff for like VHS films before. I think they actually didn't they direct some or all of Moon Knight for Disney?
I think they did.
Yeah. Great directors. I love their style.
Yeah.
The Endless is like one of my favorite films of all time. I could talk about that for forever. So yeah, when I was like, what movies have people suggested we could cover? I knew I hadn't seen it, and then if you've not seen it either, that seems like a good one to
Sweet.
to dig into and talk about.
Sounds good.
I think it's a little more sci-fi, but I do think there are some horror type stuff to it. So,
Well, we embrace all genres
We
here
do.
at Genre Exposure.
so we'll dig in there and see what happens, and it should be easy to get to. I saw it was streaming on like Tubi, several other places.
Oh, Tubi, man.
Tubi won't steer you wrong. We maybe at some point need to sit down and like get into some of those weird ones on Tubi.
Like the Tubi originals?
Yeah.
There's some that are supposed to be pretty good.
That might be a thing for the future. We'll see.
I'm down for that, man. That's exciting.
Otherwise, if you've checked out these films, let us know what you think. If you're a Three Musketeers nerd like us, send us a message. We'll geek out about it together. You can hit us up on Facebook. You can hit us up on Twitter, on Instagram. Email us at genreexposure@gmail.com. We do still want your movie suggestions. We're just going to pepper them in more sparingly for the moment till we get a bunch in the backlog. Otherwise, you have been listening to Genre Exposure.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.